We got permission to run through Strathgordon station and then take a track that goes through indigenous lands and pops up on the coast of Pormpuraaw. But the problem is nobody's driven this track for at least a couple of years, and in Cape York that can be like wiping it clean completely. It goes through marshy land, swampy land, there's a couple of rivers involved, but all we know about it is what we can see on the map, because there's no one to talk to about the track. You know what? That's the sort of adventure we live for. I don't know if we'll get through or not. If we do, it'll be a wonderful chance to explore the southwest coast of Cape York. If we don't get through, well, I reckon we'll have an adventure not doing it, won't we? Either way, it's going to be fantastic. Come on, this will be great.
Just hang on a minute. Before we go off on this adventure, I want to take you right back to the start. Remember on my last trip up here, I had a little mishap when an eagle smashed the windscreen, and then Gleno's alternator failed him after some insane mud puddles. Well, before we could start this trip, we had ourselves a bit of maintenance to do back at Musgrave Roadhouse. If you're like me, then your Forby's probably one of your best mates. Four-wheel driving isn't just about the driving, not for me anyway. It's also about the understanding of the machine, so that when things go wrong, I've got a fair idea of where to start looking.
That's the alternator in place.
You know, you just can't expect to do the sort of trips we do without a fair bit of collateral damage. Windscreens are funny sort of things. If you ever have to replace one, it's not that hard, it's just frustrating. What we did here, first of all, cleaned all the old gunk off the frame. That was pretty important, and because Milo was a bit rusty, I took advantage of it to give it a quick coat of paint just to help seal it. And then a squirt of silicone right the way round on the inside, which I beat it in with my thumb. And then with the rubber on, a string, thanks to Gavin, pushed all the way around. Gavin the thumb. Can you see where it goes? It's in that big hole in the front of the car. And with the boys applying pressure on the outside, I'm pulling the string on the inside. It just popped in beautiful. Hey! Look at that! Really happy with that. I had a feeling it was going to take hours and we'd be doing it several times, but at the end of the day, a couple of hours, all done. Magic. Now just tell the birds to stay away, all right? Okay? Don't do it! This is all fresh country for me, because we're going to kick off just south of Musgrave on the Strathgordon Road and then work our way westbound, crossing over the Coleman River, continuing west until we reach Pormpuraaw. When we reach there, we'll be taking a trip north up the Cape's western coast until we reach Christmas Creek. This is going to be awesome. With me on this trip, from MDC itself, we've got Kenny driving Big Steve. Kenny's in his own Hilux. He's actually Vaughan's brother. Vaughan's the guy who owns MDC. And Kenny's along because he's a real adventurer and he wasn't going to miss out on a trip like this no matter what. Rocket Rod's here. He's come all the way from Melbourne, and this is his first trip up the Cape, and whilst he's a very experienced four-wheel driver, you can bet he's hanging out to have a good look at the Cape. And of course, I've got my old mate Glenn Has-Been Haddon. Like so many Cape trips, this one is absolutely full of unknowns, and it looks as if we're just about to come across our first obstacle.
Hey Keno, I think we need your chainsaw here, mate.
Roger that.
Hiya, mate.
Trees over the track? This is a good sign for us. It means the track hasn't been used much. Judging by the old dead leaves around this one, it's been here for quite a while, and no one's tried to drive around it. That means we're on a virgin track. This is going to be exciting. You've always got to remember when you're clearing trees that it could have fallen under pressure. Indeed, most trees are under pressure, even when they're lying on the ground. What you've got to do is work out where you can get a clean cut without the tree collapsing on the saw.
Well done, kiddo.
With not too much effort, we're through, and we've made a gateway to the rest of the track and our adventure. But now I know we're the first through for a while. I'm wondering what this track's got in store.
Oh, have a look at him. Geez, you wouldn't want him to mistake you for a tree.
Here he is, he's just ducked over to the right. He's just sitting there, though.
It's huge, about 1.5 meters long. You sure that's not a crocodile? That thing is massive. They're breeding big up here.
Did you know that there's about 25 species of these creatures in Australia, and some can grow to 2.5 metres long? Whoa, that's longer than has been.
Oh, there's something interesting ahead here, fellas. Bit of a lump or something. Oh, it's a great big mud hole.
You beauty.
This is where approach and departure angles really come into their own, and that's why Milo's got it all over the other trucks, because it's got no departure angle really.
It looks a bit slippery too.
It's reasonably deep. You probably want to take it slow. It's going to take the drawbars out, I think.
These drawbars are tough, mate.
Kenny's through with the trailer without too many dramas.
Whoa. Whoa.
Good on you, go, Steve.
This is a bit of a deep one.
Rocket should make it fairly easy. He's got a fair old overhang on the Triton, but he hasn't got the trailer as a brake either, has he?
I guess I just bet me number plate again, eh?
At the end of the day, it's all about knowing your vehicle. Look at how clean Has-Been does this.
Yeah, coming through now, mate.
How'd you go with the step through?
I just beads it through, mate.
Lovely.
But hold up, Kenny. You've just done your tyre. Just peeled the whole thing off.
Which one, mate?
Left rear on the Hilux.
Bugger, I must have staked it, I suppose, with that log.
Well, there you go. It can happen to even really good tyres. A bit of a stake back here, by the look of it. A real tyre peeler. But the boys have got 2 on board the truck and another spare on the trailer that'll fit. So that's 3 times the chance of getting out of here.
Oh, there she is.
This kind of thing can happen to any sort of tyre, but it's especially prevalent up the Cape after burn-offs and things like that. That's why, in a place like this, it really pays to have at least 2 spares, and if you're counting on the one on the trailer too, well, you make sure it's a good one. I've got my Mickey Thompsons on Milo for this trip, but I'm going to let them down a bit more anyway, because I know they can take it. The terrain's getting tougher as this track goes on, and there's a lot of timber over it too. So to try and help us from staking a tyre, we're going to let our tyres down even further. We'll let them down on the trailer too. Soft tyres, less chance of a spike. With Kenny's spare tyre back on, we're back on the move, and pretty soon we've reached a fairly major river crossing.
I think this must be the Coleman, according to the GPS.
Very wide, isn't it? It's really wide, and you can see it just recently it's been flooded as well.
Oh, it's got water in it too.
Nothing better than the water.
You beauty.
How deep does it look, John?
It's got a bit of dead thing, but it looks soft, very soft. Now, while I've still got water, I know I can still get some traction. It does mean spinning the wheels a bit, but hey, it's working. I've still got forward progress.
Well, it's quite exciting. I'll pick the wrong gear. We sunk it. You guys with the trailers will have to give it a few herbs.
Coming through.
Steve, if Keno slows down, start slapping him, because if he gets stuck, I'm going to get stuck right behind him.
Keno's almost as big on the boot as Steve is. I've got a feeling I know what his technique will be.
Yeah, we're down.
John, I think we're down for the counts.
Do I let you come back and go winch from the front here?
Yes, please, mates.
Oh, coming back.
Thanks, mate.
I'd rather use the winch in this situation rather than try and snatch it because of the weight of the whole rig. At the end of the day, the old Hilux is pretty well stuck, but if we can just move it a few feet, she'll be up on the surface again, there'll be a bit more traction. The winch might be slower, but it's going to be a whole lot safer. Mate, I'm going to give this a bit of a go, If it doesn't help you, we'll have to double it up because you've got a lot of weight on there.
I've had to put my safety helmet on and I'm good to go.
Righto, mate, we'll winch you. Always remember when you're in this sort of a situation that the suction factor can be as much as the sheer weight, especially when it's really deep mud.
Make sure not too fast, Ken. Keep as far as you can.
With all that suction and all that weight in the wet sand, I've decided to double up on the winch. A double up gives you so much torque to play with, you can control it. It's a lot slower. We've got to get the winch extension strap out so we can get Milo well back in a position where she can do a little bit of pulling without pulling herself forward.
Let's see if we can have another go at this, eh? Get it out this time.
Part of the trick here is to use the winch to build up a bit of strain on the winch extension strap, and then Kenny can sort of jump it forward in little bunny hops.
Next victim.
Here comes Rocket Rod.
No, Rocket.
That's the right way to do it, Rod. He's blasted straight the way through.
Go the rocket ship.
Last, definitely not least, has been Haddon in the 200.
Heaviest trailer, the last one in, which means it would have been the boggiest, the sloppiest, the wettest.
Good fun.
And yeah, you did it. One go.
I just showed you how not to do it.
That's it. We just picked the soil.
Not too much further and we find a beaut little spot to camp. Everyone looks for something different in a campsite. It's mostly got to do with what sort of camping gear you've got. If you've got a trailer or a rooftop tent, the condition of the ground doesn't matter that much. You're sleeping in swags, maybe you want some nice deep grass to unroll on. In our case, we chose this place because it's flat and we can light a good fire with all the wood that's lying around. It's looking like some great weather for camping anyway, and with a bit of cloud cover it should stay a bit warmer this evening too. That and a good old campfire. Well, it's morning here in camp and it's time for a bit more maintenance. Well, this is something all top-end travellers know about. This time of year the grass is tall and it's dying off just before the wet season. And so the seeds, when you're driving down, you know, through the grass, the seeds get stuck in the radiator. There's a lot of different ways to do this. The traditional way with the old brass radiators is to burn it out, you know. I don't have that option because I've got an aluminium intercooler in front. Rocket's compressed air's absolutely brilliant. That's what's doing it. Hey Rocket, can we make this into an automatic too while we're here? Today's going to be a big push to try and make it past Pormpuraaw to Cathy's camp on the west coast before nightfall. But there's going to be quite a few if, buts and maybes, because first we've got to get across the Coleman again. The river's doubled back on itself and the track is heading straight for it.
Hey guys, I'm just going to have a look at this track up ahead here first before you bring the trailers in. It gets a bit tight. I think the river's somewhere around here too. Ooh. Oh, holy dolly. Oh, there's a great big tree right in front of us here.
This fallen tree is huge, bigger than anything we've ever cleared before. If we're going to clear it though, I want to make sure that this is actually the track and the crossing. We don't want to be wasting time. I'm going for a walk to check it all out. Just make sure this is where we should be. Well, you know, it looks to me like this definitely was a crossing. I mean, on both sides of the track here, we've got big logs that have been chainsawed and pushed out of the road. And it's fairly dense all the way through. But then we've got this big log here that's blocking it now. Might not have been used for a long time, but it was the crossing for sure. And there's even a dent on the other side that looks like the other side of it. So we might have to try and work our way around this somehow and get across that river. This will be fun. This This is a job for Rod's chainsaw because it's bigger for one, and it's a lot sharper than Kenny's too. Rod lives in the country, and at his roo sanctuary in Victoria, he's constantly having to clear trees. Now the biggest thing here, of course, is that there's a whole lot of weight got to go somewhere when that tree gets cut in half. That's what Rod's thinking about all the time, trying to relieve the weight from squeezing on the blade. Oh, what a beautiful job, mate. I can see you've done this before. Oh no, look at that. The one thing Rod was trying to avoid, and it's gone and happened to him. This is called a wedgie. Chainsaw's wedged in the log.
Almost had it.
Yeah, but we need this saw. We really need this saw for a whole lot of reasons, not just to get through here. So we're going to take our time, just knock a wedge in underneath it. Only needs to be a little bit and it'll come out without bending or breaking any of the teeth on the chain.
Yeah.
That should go. There you go, Rocket. Okay, what we're going to do here is get Milo into position so the winch will pull straight. This log, there's probably 3/4 of a tonne of timber there. So if we just try and pull it straight back with the winch, because it weighs so much, there's every chance it's just going to wind up on an angle dug into the dirt. We won't be able to do anything with it. So using the sling off to one side means that we can pull it bang out of the way like a farm gate. That's the theory. We'll see how we go. Rodney's going to have to be careful cutting this in because this is all that's holding the weight of the whole trunk. That's another reason why we've attached the recovery gear first. It's a lot easier to get that tree trunk protector around it while it was still off the ground. Oh, nearly there, Rod. Just a bit more. Oh, no. Another wedgie. Oh. So easy to do when you're dealing with so much weight.
Yeah, I should have gone straight through from the top.
Get that out.
We're going to have to do something clever here. What we really don't want to do is twist this tree onto the saw. Yeah. If we bend the blade runner, we're going to have some big problems. Once you do, they're just lethal. Not a good idea. Not this far from civilization and a hospital. But that's all right. With a little bit of clever angling, we can roll the log away and clear the chainsaw. Beautiful. Now let's get this monster out of the road. Winches are just about the most useful thing on earth, aren't they? Used carefully, a winch is just an awesome tool. It's not just for getting out of bogs, I can tell you. Come on, guys, we'll go and have a bit of a look at this, eh? As much as anything, we can wash our feet. Can't go that bit. Well, this is all rock and this here's all right, though. Righto, all sussed. We'll just make a little bit of a clearing through here. We'll bring the trucks in.
Come through, Roothy.
Righto, mate. Even though we've walked it and had a good look, there's a few worries involved in this crossing. It's a real unknown. Some of that sand could be really soft, what we thought was high could be low. It only takes one or two wheels to get out of kilter here, and the old girl could be on her side. Hey, I might stop and have a swim. It's beautiful out there. Oh, it's getting deep.
It's a little soft right where you are, so keep it going.
So far, so good, guys. Beautiful, actually. Well called, Rod.
Alright, mate, when you're ready. Alright, mate, you know the deal. Bring it to more left, mate. More left.
Now, Rod had a good chance to look at where I went, and he's followed it pretty much right across. Geez, he's loving this Cape trip, isn't he?
I'll follow Roothy out. I think he picked the right line for getting out. Thank you very much.
No, thank you.
Good on you, Rocket. If there's one thing you got to know about Ken, he's just like Steve. He's got absolutely no fear whatsoever. He saw what we've done, he's bringing the trailer in, and he's going to scoot the Lux across exactly where we went. Steve's calling a few shots there. Steve's done plenty of this stuff in the past.
I think we should go back and do it again.
Beautiful. Nobody can quite spin the wheel to follow somebody else's tyre tracks as well as Glenn has been Haddon. He's the ultimate master in the steering game. Having made it all over, I'm going to try and find out where that track goes on the other side. Meanwhile, the guys are using their Flowmaster pump to suck up some water into the tanks. This just couldn't be better, I reckon, because sand-filtered Cape water is the freshest on earth. Well, we found it. There's not much of it left. Yeah, this is what the Morgans up in the Kimberleys used to call the difference between light and dark. There's just a slight hint of lightness coming through here caused by this stuff, and that's new growth. We should be able to pick this. I can pick it as far as I've walked anyway. So really it's just a question of giving it a go until we run out of lightness. I'm just going to cross-reference my findings with the Hema, and I'm also checking how far from the coast we are. It looks as if we can still make it by sundown, but we're really going to have to get a move on.
Hey, listen, this slope hasn't been driven in a while, but it won't be a drama, and I've picked up a bit of a track on the other side. So, I think back into convoy order and we'll give it a shake, eh?
So how do you know about this track, Roothy? There you go.
With the tracking skills I've picked up in past adventures and the Hema, somehow I'm managing to keep us pointing in the right direction. Well, just. Wow. You know, sometimes this track is, you can see it, and other times like this, it's just a little bit of guesswork. It's really easy to lose the track in long grass like this, and the other problem is you don't know what the grass is hiding. Be termite mounds or big holes or all sorts of things going on in here. I can just see traces of track in front of me, but I'm really glad I got the Hema, because you can get it severely wrong when the grass looks like this. We're doing it, we're making a mile, and all the while the scenery is constantly changing as we get nearer and nearer to the coast. Everything is opening right up and it's becoming a whole lot flatter. It's totally the opposite to what the East Coast is like. The country's really changing now. Not as much grass, a whole lot of very dry looking salty country. I'd say this is probably underwater during the wet season for sure. Suddenly the ground starts to get a little bit soft.
Wow, that's seriously wet under there.
Oh yeah, it's getting a bit soggy under the tyres now.
Oh
Boy, that's soft.
Yeah, come through with a bit of speed.
Yep, thought so. We're just driving on a crust on top of a whole lot of mud.
Geez, I'm almost at full throttle trying to pull through that.
We're back on the grass, we'll be right.
Geez, that was really close.
It was a bit of excitement, wasn't it?
That was a bit of fun, eh? That was awesome.
Having got quite a few kilometres under the belt, Glenn needs to top up on fuel. Of course he's brought extra due to the additional load of the trailer. Yep. You can get fuel in Pormpuraaw, and we'll all be doing that before we head home for sure. But for now, I reckon we're good to go. I just can't wait to get to Cathy's fishing camp. It's supposed to be spectacular. First things first though, looks like we're going to be getting a bit wet as we near the coast. Oh dear, bring on the mud. There's water everywhere.
Oh, yuck! That stinks!
Yeah, just keep it running.
Ah, rocket sideways action. You can see the Speedway pilot come out in rocket, can't you?
I don't know what happened, man. I just dropped it, went in there, and I thought, oh well, I'll go through both tracks at once, sideways.
And let's not hold back has-been. As usual, he's picked the perfect line. I thought we'd get a lot more sideways out of you, Glenn. Can almost smell the salt air, and all of a sudden we've got some sand too. I think we're getting very close to the coast, guys. Oh, whoops. Big patch of soft sand has eaten the Hilux. It was just one little soft bit about 20 feet long. Yep, Kenny's well and truly stuck. We're running out of time. A quick snatch is what's needed. There's plenty of traction further ahead, and Rocket's got the Triton in position.
Dug her in, mate.
Plus, he's lowered. That's just for you, Steve-O, so you can get in and out of the car real easy.
It's quite considerate of you.
Helping him out.
Rocket doesn't give it too much, he doesn't have to. It just needs a little bit of a lift and it'll climb out on its own. Good on you, Kenny. Well done, mate. Thanks, Rocket. Finally, we've arrived at Cathy's fishing camp. It's about 60 kilometres north of Pormpuraaw and it'll cost you $30 per 4B per night to stay here. You'll pass a little shack on the way, so just pop your head in and make your payment there.
How good's this little spot?
Oh, look at this, it's beautiful.
Love it. I reckon we can call this home, guys.
Oh, nothing beats the west coast of the Cape. The ocean's nice and flat, you can see for miles, you're right there on the Gulf. It's just one of the wildest places on earth, and yet somehow there's more flora and fauna here than almost anywhere in Australia. Before long we're looking at great big flocks of pelicans and all sorts of bird life coming through. The sea was jumping with fish. It's just a magnificent place to camp, but you do have to remember that this is Aboriginal land, and it's dry land too. There's no alcohol allowed here. Oh, well that was a pretty quick and easy setup, wasn't it? You get good at it after a while. Just like the boys over here. They're putting the camper up just for a quick one-nighter. Nice and easy. How good is this? Possibly the best campsite I've seen in ages. Absolutely magnificent. Right on the beach. When the tide comes in, you can just about hang for a barramundi over the lip there. You'd probably do it from your swag if you were keen. This is really good. Well, it's morning here at Cathy's fishing camp, and how good is this? Here come the birds, they're ready for the fish. Kenny's straight off to wet a line, of course. If you don't nail his foot to the sand dunes, that's what he does, every 2 seconds. Steve's back in the kitchen, whipping up some brekkie rissoles. Hey, this is going to be good, mate. Wow, this place is just incredible, almost surreal to be here on the beach. You know, so far from any other humans, and it's just wonderful. You can see the curve in the earth and there's nobody on it, just us. And we're having a beaut cooked breakfast. You know what? I think this is just the perfect setup for a perfect day. And with a bit of luck later on, I'm going to run into an old mate. He's going to show us around a bit, so that should be good too. Whoa, life doesn't get much better than this. While the others are packing up camp, I'm going to go and pick up a bloke by the name of Clinton. Now, Clinton is one of the traditional owners up here, and not only has he given us permission to explore his land, he's going to show us around, in return for a little favour. Our new mission is to get Clinton onto the northern side of Christmas Creek. But there's a catch. We won't be able to cross at the mouth as it's impassable. That means we'll have to head inland until we can find a place where we can cross this creek. But before we can do that, we've got to actually reach the mouth of the creek. It's a fair drive up the beach, but with the tide low, it's a good time to make a mile. Clinton tells us all to keep up the momentum, to never sit still on this tidal flat. It's commonplace for people to lose vehicles here, and I believe him, as he went on to point out more than one vehicle rooftop buried beneath the sand.
How good is this beach? You could almost land a bloody jumbo on this.
How fortunate are we?
The tide's nice and low. I think we've timed this perfectly.
Oh, I'll tell you what, how good is the bird life up here?
Stop chasing that pelican, Roothy.
Trying to lose another windscreen.
I've never seen whole flocks of pelicans roosting in one spot, flying in together, jam-packed together, fishing together. Wow. This is Christmas Creek, and it's not something you want to be crossing right here. If you got stuck in there, you could be saying goodbye to your 4B or your life, or both. There's plenty of big salties patrolling this water. I'm not sure what happened to this one though. Pretty sure he's not sunbathing. With that in mind, we're going to take a turn inland on a track that isn't marked, but Clinton knows the route. However, Glenn's lost momentum coming up off the beach, and he's got a bit held up on that soft sand.
You want me to number it? No?
Has been! What are you doing?
I just parked up for a little bit.
Has been loves the beach. He's always looking for excuses to stop on it. You know, it's always the same, isn't it? Whenever you try and exit a beach, that's where the soft sand will be. And because you're gaining a little bit of altitude at the same time, there's more to actually pull up your vehicle. It's unfortunate, but it's true. You need momentum to get off the beach. And when you're travelling in convoy, especially when you're not sure where you're going, momentum can be a problem. Hey, Has been.
Yeah, man, probably do, I reckon.
Back on the move, and Clinton's guiding me through the bush. He's really putting my tracking skills to shame because this track has completely disappeared and he's still finding the way with no problem. Whoa, this is starting to feel like a real adventure.
What's the go with this waterhole, Clinton? You ever see crocs up here?
Yeah, now and then a couple of crocs.
Yeah.
You know, passing through.
Local knowledge in these areas is everything, and Clinton knows heaps. He grew up here after all, and he tells me that even in this waterhole there may be crocs lurking, ready to strike some unsuspecting duck or a wild pig. This place is just nature come alive.
Man, I hope that's thicker than it looks under here. Yeah. It doesn't look too thick.
You never know what to expect in a crossing like this.
Hey guys, this is the lagoon crossing here, and Clinton reckons that a couple of people have been bogged here before. I can see traces of that. There's mesh, all sorts of stuff. It's pretty horrible. I think it's going to be a lot worse than it looks. You'll be real soft.
You reckon this is a low range or a high range job?
I'm going high range, probably first or second gear, because I need a bit of stomp to get through it. I think it's going to be a momentum thing, Rod, and I wouldn't be surprised if the truck plunges right down.
Righto. Give it the herbs, Roothy.
I'll give it the rear locker too. Righto! Whoa! Oh man, you get wet.
Mudzy mudzy.
Okay guys, just remember to put your windows up and hit it. You'll be right.
How come it's all on your side?
Launch, Keno, launch.
When you got a crossing like this, momentum's just about everything.
Wow, that was a big splash there, Keno.
What a cracker.
Bucker up moment.
Come on, Rocket. This is where the stomp comes in. I'll bet you're glad you got your rude chip before you left.
Whooshka! Here comes Gleno!
Okay, Glenn.
Come on, Gleno.
Don't slow down for anything. Go for it, mate. That's the way.
Good on you, Gleno. Always the way to do it.
Even got a trailer still behind me.
The country close to the coastline changes so much, especially on the route that Clinton's taking us. But I've got a feeling he wants to show it off too. He's really proud of his people's land, and he should be too. It's amazing. And then we suddenly get to the corrugated bit. It's not just corrugated, it's dug deep and horrible.
Hey Steve, we got a bit of rugged looking stuff up here, mate. Truck's a bit washed away.
Good stuff. I hope Clinton's got his seatbelt on. You're in for a rough ride, Clinton. Hello.
And with sharp stakes on both sides and all sorts of stuff to worry about, we've decided to take Clinton for a bit of rock and roll, show him what old Milo can do.
Oh no. Oh no.
Oh, she's going down.
Sometimes these holes are just Milo size, and this one's one of them.
Oh, go, 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 go. Yes.
Good on you, John. Well done.
That was a bit rugged.
Now I've got to admit that a whole lot of this for me is just the sheer fun of showing Clinton what the old Toyota can do. He's heard plenty about it and he's seen more than a few DVDs.
Sorry man, what
It's nothing
happened?
quite like riding in Milo to find out that yes, it is for real.
there too.
It's rough as.
Holy golly, that's a big hole.
That's awesome. Did you see it just drop down then?
And hasn't gone anywhere since.
That's the front locker button. We'll see what happens now. Nothing.
I think the trees are big enough to winch off up there, John.
Ah, well, I'm officially bogged. Man, I'm going to have to get out the window. I'm not going to fit.
What's he working on? What's his plan?
That's what I'm wondering. He's not moving. There's no exhaust coming out.
Clinton's getting out.
He's not rocking it.
Roothy had to get out the passenger side.
Well, there's no way Milo can go forward here. That side is just going down as quick as it can. The only thing stopping it's the body. Otherwise it'd just eat itself into a big hole. This is so soft under here, it's not funny. The only way out is backwards at this stage.
Yes.
John's struggling through here. We got a trailer on. Just gonna have to power it out. Whoa, wee, yeah, baby. Yeah. I think we got through that.
Yeah.
Hey guys, how are you? Nice to run into you blokes here. This is the trouble with all low-lying land up the Cape. It can be really dry on the surface and very wet underneath. 1 minute you're jumping along, the next minute slop, slush, bang, you're down.
You all radio, Ken?
Give it a go, eh?
Yeah, mate.
Here we go. Looks like we're doing the business.
Beautiful, Kenno. It doesn't take much of a tug, and Milo's on the way backwards out of that
I
hole.
think you're out, mate.
You're beauty. Thanks, Kenno.
Anytime, mate.
It's all about travelling with mates, isn't it, eh? Clinton looks a bit worried by this. It's all right, mate. I'm going to go round it.
Nice work.
Ooh. Did you get some good angles, hey?
I'm going to climb up on this bank like you did. I'm not going into that hole. I'm going to go around that and then, I don't know, I'll come up with a plan from there. But I can see what I'm looking at.
The Hilux has got lovely soft suspension, and with the big tyres it's almost perfect for clawing its way through here. Helps to be a dab hand at the wheel though, hey? Good on you, Kenny.
Good luck, lads.
Come on, Ken, I've levelled most of the track off now. Should be fairly easy. The old Milo earth moving machine's been at work.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, I'm through this piece. I'm not so much.
You right, Glenn?
I have no idea, so can someone give us a bit of a guide? Just need to know if that left-hand wheel is going to go down.
You've got 2 trailer wheels still on the ground though, mate.
Yeah.
I think we'll just hang up on this side.
Yeah.
And we'll just get you to inch forward.
Okay.
Get Big Steve up
Put
here.
that down, yep.
Righto. Oh, look at that difference. Oh.
We right to go?
Righto, just real slow, mate. Oh, once we got Steve on there, the thing just sunk like someone put half a ton on it. Oh, sorry, Steve. Didn't mean that, mate. And that's all it took. 3 guys on the steps. We're off. Bingo. Leno's got the traction to get out.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Well, here we are. We've finally reached the inland crossing to Christmas Creek. Clinton tells me it's not up as much as he imagined for this time of year, but it's still going to be very soft, muddy, and very sticky in the middle. And you know what that means. Lots of berries to get across.
Hang on.
Now, I felt Milo lose traction right in the middle there, and for just a minute the wheels sunk and the engine died.
Holy dolly!
But no, the mighty 13 VT pulled through. We knew this crossing was drivable because we could see the prints coming in and the prints going out, so there's not too much chance of anything buried under there that could stake a radiator or something like that. That gives us the freedom to go a little bit on the berry side, and that's what you need to get across a hole like this. Oh boy, Four-wheel driving is just about the best fun on earth, and when it lets you see country like this, wow, you know it's just the greatest. Well, it looks like we've completed our mission. We got Clinton onto the northern side of Christmas Creek. And once we're all through, it's time to say goodbye to Clinton. He's going to be fishing, camping and meeting up with some of his family here tonight. What a life! But hey, what a place! Alrighty. As for us, well, Clinton's given us directions to get back to the beach, and using that and the breadcrumb trail I've captured on the Hema, we should be back on the coast and at the end of our adventure in no time at all.
Well guys, according to the Hema, we've only got a couple of k's to go. Looks like all could be well on this track.
You little beauty.
Looking a bit beachy.
Hey guys, here we are.
Yoo-hoo-hoo! We made it!
Oh, that's pretty amazing.
This is the best.
Oh, look at this. We got a welcoming committee.
Once there, it's a welcome sight. It doesn't matter how many times I reach the coast, this one just takes my breath away. Greeted by another huge flock of pelicans and the stillness of the West Cape waters, I feel like I'm on the edge of the earth. There's not a soul for miles and miles. This feels about as remote as it can get.
You know what? This has been one of my favourite all-time trips with four-wheel drive action. Why is that? Because we started out driving a track that was on the map, but only just, and no one had driven it for years. Add that sort of adventure, not particularly hard adventure, but the feeling of remoteness, of isolation, into a destination like this, Christmas Creek on the west coast, and you've just got an absolute fantastic combination of what four-wheel driving is all about. This is the kind of place anyone can access, but nobody does. It's absolutely marvellous, a really pristine part of Australia. Guys, when you finally do get out here and get up here, you might just find me camped along here somewhere. This is so good, I reckon I'm going to stay.
Welcome to Roothy's Ruthless Tales. Go on, grab a slice of fair dinkum, Australia. Get your dose of Roothy and put a smile on your dial.